we need to have an honest conversation about whose agenda is driving the use of these robots and the introduction of them. Now, virtual assistants and voice interface. So I want to talk quickly about what I see as emerging technology just in terms of in everybody's homes, even just whether you have dementia or not. But there's two devices I've got on the table there. One is called the Amazon Echo, which is this one where I've set the timer, and one is called Google Home. Amazon Echo had just been launched in the UK November last year. The Google Home is only in the US at the moment. How many people have heard of it or have considered buying one? A few of you. Effectively, if you use Siri or Google on your phone, so you don't need a phone, you just have this in your home and you can ask the news, get the weather, you can ask it to turn off the lights, lock the garage. There's even, people are developing skills for them where you can enter information about your symptoms and how you're feeling, get information on medication dosing, etc. And the reason why these are, I wanted to highlight these, is that again, this is an example of where you can just buy off-the-shelf technology for a few £100s from a consumer electronics company, put it in your home, and you're not having to go to the local authority or the NHS, you're just doing something yourself for your family member, or the person you're caring for, who wants to have a go and trying it, because the voice recognition I want to demonstrate is actually rather good in terms of I've even tried it with fake Indian accents and so who wants to have a go? Shibley, do you want to come and have a try? Anybody else? Yeah. Right, so in terms of, if you just, for example, just you wake it up by saying Alexa, which is the code word to wake it up, and then you can say things like, hello, how are you, what's the weather forecast for London tomorrow. So if you want to try, just in terms of the conversation to see how good or bad it is, try saying, Alexa, tell me a joke.
Alexa, tell me a joke.
What is black and white and red all over? An embarrassed raccoon.
But you can try another one if you want, just to see in terms of testing it, whatever comes in your mind.
Alexa, can you tell me how Arsenal got on today against Chelsea?
I wasn't able to understand the question.
So, thank you.
Alexa, it was rhetorical, they lost 3-1.
But the commands have to be phrased in a certain way, and again, when you think of people living with dementia, and as it progresses, it's even difficult for me, right? And I've got all my functions intact, and it's difficult for me to remember how do I phrase the command in a certain way. But this obviously will get better over time. But this is potentially, one future where again, instead of even having to put a robot in somebody's house, you just put these virtual assistants, and then they can, imagine being able to say good night at home, and then know that your doors are all locked, the windows are closed, the lights are off, the heating's been set to a certain temperature, just with one phrase of good night. Now, if you look at the reviews on Amazon, that's where it's interesting to see how, who's benefiting from the Amazon Echo device and when they're installing it. So the first one, the person saying they're a caregiver for their wife with dementia, they're together 24/7, and they have little or no conversation, and now that device keeps the husband company. Right, so again, who is this technology for? And we often just think it's just only for the person living with the condition. We forget the people around them. And then the second one there, which again I found interesting, that they're just using the Echo device from Amazon as part of building their own Alzheimer's suite, right, for the person they're caring for. So again, very powerful in terms of these are bypassing sort of the traditional systems where you would go and have an approved device. You're just buying it from Amazon. And I found this quote by Neil Maiden from City University really reinforced that sort of insight for me in terms of who is this technology actually going to be for, and who's driving that. Now, cognitive health out of the hospital. I'm finding this really interesting trend that there's an example, Cognition Kit is a feasibility study that was published recently by a company up in Cambridge in England. And they've developed a way to use, to be able to track your cognitive health using a consumer-grade wearable technology like an Apple Watch. right? So imagine that they're using a galvanic skin response, other data that's coming from sensors on this watch that you can buy as a consumer to be able to track your cognitive health outside of the hospital. Obviously feasibility stage, but again, think about those possibilities. Then you've got another company, they're trialing a product called V-Store, and it's using a virtual reality headset. So they're based in the southwest in Dorset. So it's not this headset, but something like this. It's actually, they're using the PlayStation virtual reality headset. And what they're trialing with King's College London is whether you can have a virtual reality experience in the community, in a care home, in your own home, that you will be able to screen for signs of dementia without having to go to the doctor's office, do a paper-based test. And so they're doing that in trials at the moment. So again, you think about this at the moment will be a toy, you play games on it, it will be fun, it's entertainment. But what if you could actually screen for cognitive decline in your own home? And then there's another company, again, the reason why this voice data is valuable, there's Canary Speech in the US, and they're working to see whether they can analyze this voice data to detect, again, early signs of Alzheimer's. So again, really powerful in terms of, this is why I'm telling people the next frontier in health data is our voice data, and this is why companies like Amazon and Google are desperate to build this repository of as much voice data as possible and as many people around the world, because there are huge insights and there's huge value there. But again, who gets that value? From Australia, Kate will be familiar with this. So you've got ED, which is this educational dementia immersive experience. And again, where in order to help people caring for those with dementia, what's it like to live with it, then putting on the headset and having that virtual reality experience. And then Solace in Australia have developed, using a mobile headset, a custom experience for patients in care homes, which again, I think is quite interesting in terms of they personalised it. This is one with my phone here. How many have heard of augmented reality? Augmented reality, if you haven't heard of it, is where, so virtual reality is where you put a headset and be transported into this digital world. And then augmented reality is about bringing that virtual world onto your physical world. So the pictures here with this phone, it's the world's first phone with augmented reality, but effectively, the picture on the left shows that I'm able to bring the dressing room from Gap, the high street store, into my own home or wherever I am, and be able to see how different clothes look like jeans and t-shirts and shirts, etc. So again, think about when it comes to supporting well, how this technology with a phone might help people. This is quite an interesting one on the top. It's where you can raise a virtual pet in augmented reality. So with your phone, you would then be able to feed it, look after it, pet it in your own home, and it would be jumping around on your chairs, on your desk or whatever. But again, I was just thinking the application is, what if somebody's not able to be responsible for an actual animal, actual pet, they don't want to feed it and what have you, and so they can just use this phone for that. And then on the bottom is, again, in terms of making it easier to live independently, this is from Amazon, but using the phone, where if you wanted to, for example, see how a TV would look in your room, you could actually see, using the phone and augmented reality, how that product would look at home. This is something called Microsoft HoloLens, and this is what they're talking about, mixed reality, where it's halfway between virtual reality and augmented reality. And they're talking about the potential application for people who live with dementia is that you would put these glasses on, and actually they're not that great to wear, so I'm not sure that they are the right thing. But you would wear them, you would basically say, track my keys, and then you would just say, where are my keys, and then a little pop-up would come in your field of vision and say, they're in the bedroom or whatever, right? And then, this chap from the Alzheimer's Society, Jordan Namara, is saying he thinks this could be a good thing. I personally don't think so. Having tried them, they're very crude and clunky at the moment. Games are not just for fun. So you're going to hear more if you're working in the area of biomedical research in terms of understanding, trying to predict when people are going to get dementia. Then you're going to hear more about digital biomarkers, whether it's our voice data collected from these devices, or whether in this case it's Achille and Pfizer, who in December presented results where they were able to show subtle changes, cognitive changes, and in these healthy subjects. And I highlighted it in yellow because it was just using a video game on a tablet. So again, when you think about the devices that we're using or we're planning to use that are available to any of us without having to go through certain channels, just available to us as consumers, think of where we're going. And then I want to talk to you about a whole bunch of technology. So there's a smart cane. It's a company in France, so that can actually measure information about how you're walking, and then be able to alert people if your risk of falling has changed. So think again, sensors and everything. Then this is Welt. This is from Samsung. I've actually ordered one. It's a belt with sensors in it that can not just track your activity like a Fitbit and how much you're walking, but it can actually detect when you're eating too much and your waistline.
I don't want one of those.
You know?
Don't buy me one.
That's not going to be your Christmas present. So again, if you think about sensors everywhere in that data. Level, this is feasibility technology, so I've actually got these glasses. They're the only ones outside of the US. These actually have the same sensors as a Fitbit on your wrist and in your glasses. So if you think about, when I speak to people in care homes and they say, well, we can't give our dementia patients a Fitbit or something on the wrist, they tear it off, right? They don't like it. Well, what about if you put sensors in devices that people already wear, like the belt, or their shoes, or their glasses? So again, when we think about sensors and where we're heading, and then on the left is something called Proteus, and what Proteus is, and I'm just going to put this back on because it will come back. Proteus have developed, they're in America, they've developed a chip that goes inside your medicine, inside your tablet, and that is linked to a patch on your arm. So when you take that pill, it then says, okay, I'm pill 101, I've been swallowed by patient 102 at 12:53, sends it out to the cloud via the patch on your arm, and then you effectively, somebody knows somewhere remotely that you have just adhered to your medication regime. So if you think about Big Brother, 1984, this is already here, the FDA has not approved it for this particular thing, but it's, you know, they have some issues. But if you want to see the actual chip, that's what goes in. It's fully biodegradable, and once it triggers an electrical signal once it meets your stomach acid. But how many people would feel comfortable with their family member who's got dementia actually having these medicines, these tablets they're taking with a little chip inside and sending a signal to say that, okay, your grandparent has taken their medication? And then if you think that's science fiction, British Airways have filed a patent where they're envisioning, could we give passengers a digital pill when they get on the plane? We can monitor what's happening in their gastrointestinal tract and understand, should we be giving them spicy food on the plane or not spicy? And they also want to have cameras in the plane that monitor your emotions in real time, and the cabin crew can go, oh, that person looks thirsty, or that passenger looks hungry, or they look angry. Go over to 22B. So just think about, again, even beyond the realm of dementia, where we're heading as a society, as a world. Alexa, stop. So I've got 2 minutes left, I'll be quick. And I really like this, right? So this is what I see all the time, not just in the NHS or social care, but in huge private sector organisations. You're taking existing flawed processes, digitizing them, transforming them at huge cost often, and you end up with this digital veneer when the underlying process is still shit. And I really like this quote by Peter Hames, who's an entrepreneur from here who went off to the US. Talks about this blind digitization of the status quo, that everywhere you just hear digital, and people are not pausing to just say, are we doing things the right way before we start putting all this technology and data? And then also I want to quickly talk about the issues in terms of the risks here. So this is from the FTC in the US, it was about a year ago, where there was an app for your phone called Lumosity, and it's almost pitched as this brain training game, and you could potentially, they said, prevent the onset or delay the onset of Alzheimer's, for example, just by playing this game. And they were found that was deceptive because the science wasn't robust. It didn't back up their claims. Then this is a company called Savonics. I haven't tried it, I just downloaded it, but they're talking about, again, being able to replace the paper-based test with a mobile app in terms of screening for dementia. I just think that's, again, we have to be very, very careful here. When it comes to data is increasingly going to be a big source of power in the 21st century, whatever area you're in. When you think about people with dementia as their cognitive health declines, you think about civil rights, the bias in terms of who's writing these algorithms and the rules that guide them in their digital nudges in everyday life. And so the White House has looked at that this year. The UK government is starting to look at that in terms of reports, policy making, regulation. It's something each of you should be aware of when you're thinking about, okay, are my relatives' rights being infringed? How will they even be able to give informed consent? A reality check quickly. So this is from Ofcom. They've got some great reports in terms of giving us a reality check. So what we see here is a smartphone take-up in the UK by a demographic group, 2010 to 2015. Now, obviously, when you go to a lot of these technology events, it's relatively young people who are driving the conversation. And yes, 93% of 16 to 24-year-olds have got a smartphone. You go down to 75 plus, 8%, right? And then, you've even got variation by social class as well. So if people are on low income, they're not necessarily going to have access to smartphones. So we have this app-first world, mobile-first world, where people are not thinking about actually what are the tools that people actually have. This is another great reality check here. So even if you have a smartphone, how many people are actually using data plans? Okay, I'll be literally 30 seconds. So how many people are using data plans? Again, if you look at 65 plus, even though it's gone up over the last few years, it's doubled from 9 to 21%. It's still only 1 out of every 5 are using these data plans. And then in terms of the most missed media device, if you go to 75 plus, the most missed device is the TV set, next is radio. So again, this is why I found this startup in the UK, some young people, remote care but via your TV, because they recognise that fact. They knew that reality check there. And then finally, I wrote a blog post that patients and their caregivers as innovators. We shouldn't wait for the system to act. It's now time to just use these tools to do what we need for ourselves. And then I was inspired by this great-grandmother, and Joan, and she's fulfilled her dream despite having dementia of being a children's author at 85. So I think that's really inspiring in terms of where we can go. And then finally, I just want to close very quickly on a reminder that despite all this technology and where it can go and what it can do, for some of us, we have to remember that everyone matters. Thank you.
So much.
Oh, I just switch off the microphone, so it's not recording anyone.
Fascinating. Now, Joe.